Back here at the Sydney Football Stadium, the celebrations continue. The Australian players, most of them are still on the field with the Bledisloe Cup. They've had a parade around the park with the trophy that they worked so hard for today, a trophy they nearly lost, but they got it, and now they are all holding it aloft in triumph. We'd like to thank you for your votes in the UBIX MVP and your tens of thousands you've called in and voted tonight. And you've awarded the UBIX MVP to Shane Howarth, 3 points, 2 to Michael Jones, and 1 to the courageous Zinzan Brooke. So that's how you voted. We thank you for calling in on the UBIX MVP. Let's go to Stu Wilson down underneath the stand here. He's got tonight's winner.
Well, Shane Howarth, it's sad losing the Bledisloe Cup to keep in Sydney. 20 points to 16 overnight. Probably the only thing you're going to cut out with a smile is the UBIX most valuable player. The million-odd people that were in New Zealand watching the game tonight have voted you the winner, so accept that.
Thanks, Stu.
And really a game of two halves.
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks to UBIX, and special thanks to the public in New Zealand for supporting us. We're sorry we couldn't bring it away, but full credit to Aussie. As you say, it was a game of two halves, and we gave them too much of a start in the first half. And I mean, as much as we tried to come back, I think the defence was good. You know, we had a couple of chances there, but I think overall we gave them too much of a start, Stu, and we just couldn't reel it back in.
I think they were quite surprised that you took the game to them in the second half, starting to move the ball wide. Scoring tries yourself was a good try, and the one that little Jeffy Wilson missed could have turned the game.
Yeah, I mean, we've lacked a bit of confidence in the South African series, and we lacked the confidence in the first half. And unfortunately, it took us being 14 points down to realise that we could actually have a go at the guys and break the line. And I mean, and Walter and Frankie started coming to their own and giving us space out wide, and we forwards started gaining momentum. But as I say, we gave them too much room. You know, we gave them too many points, and we couldn't reel it back in. And I mean, I feel so sorry for Jeff. You know, that would have been an outstanding try, and he's hurting in the change room. And but we'll pick him back up, because you can't blame one individual for that. I mean, it's 15 guys on the field, and you know, we were that close to winning and we didn't win. So you know, that's life.
Shane, that's all about rugby. Anyone you like to especially mention at home?
Yeah, just my beautiful fiancée Marcella. I know she's watching, and Coles and everyone else. My brother's back home, and everyone at Placemakers Mount Wellington, thanks for your support. It's magic.
Shane, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Terrific words there from Shane Howarth, the UBIX MVP for this game in Sydney, the Bledisloe Cup match 1994. Just a word here, regular programming is running about 15 minutes late in our program tonight, but we're going to stay with this. We think it's important to stay with the action here in Sydney. For more comment, we'll be back after this break on One World of Sport. Live from the Sydney Football Stadium in Sydney, Australia. One World of Sport with further discussion, and the scoreboard tells the story of the game. 20 points to 16. Australia 2 tries to 1. Shane Howarth scored all the points for New Zealand for the second test in a row. It was a magnificent game. Well, the discussion on the game may soon turn to debate about the direction of New Zealand rugby. We think it's a little bit early for us to be involved with that. John Hart's been with me today. John, you look like you're like the rest of it, a bit deflated and flat at the end of that. What's your impression of the game we've just seen tonight?
Well, it's a great game of rugby. Did the game of rugby a lot of good, but it was two halves, and the All Blacks unfortunately gave away the lead. They made too many mistakes. Some of the penalties they conceded were were things they couldn't do. Their second half display was superb, and I think at last we've seen that if the All Blacks want to spin the ball, if we've got loose forwards who can get there, we've got backs who have the skills in the hands, and we back ourselves, we can take on the world. And today the All Blacks did that. They have come out unfortunately on the losing side, but they certainly performed really well in that second half.
I think that dressing room scene, John, may well be a compliment to the All Blacks in a way. There's no great scenes of jubilation. Those players there sitting in the background on the benches, they are exhausted.
Yeah, well, you know, they would be. They had to tackle themselves to the ground tonight. The All Blacks took it to them. And I think you've got to give credit to Australia. Whilst they did slacken off in the second half, their defence continued to come at the All Blacks. They lacked the intensity in Test match rugby this year. That showed up, I think, when the pace went at them. But full credit to them. They won the game. They deserved to win the game. But the All Blacks were very valiant losers.
Comments today from John Hart. Stu Wilson was with us. You can see that people are still standing around discussing the amazing scenes we saw over 80 minutes on the park, where it was Australia 20, New Zealand 16. It could have been there for the New Zealanders, taking young Jeff Wilson, the face of the future of New Zealand rugby, diving to score with George Gregan saving with a try, saving tackle, pushing the ball across the touchline. And tonight all of Sydney and all of Australia celebrates coming out from this stadium here in Sydney. The final score, 20 points to 16, after Australia led by 17 points to 6 at halftime.
I'll wrap it up, shall I?
So there we'll leave you from the Sydney Football Stadium. Thanks for being with us on One World of Sport. It's been an epic night. The scoreboard will stand there and the history books will record it as a win for Australia by 20 to 16. The discussion of the game will turn soon into debate about where All Black rugby goes from here, with 2 wins out of 6 tests in 1994. Australia 20, New Zealand 16, and the Bledisloe Cup goes back to Australia. This is Keith Quinn from the Sydney Football Stadium. On behalf of my colleagues Stu Wilson and John Hart, thanks for being with us on One World of Sport.